Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Northborough, the COVID-19 edition. If you haven't seen the show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I do elder law as a day job with Myrick O'Connell. This is really about Frank and Mary and their goal to stay in Northborough until they die and live and be buried in the backyard. That's their goal, like a lot of my clients. And so I've got this great co-host, Chris Lindquist, who's one of his jobs has been to find all these great guests for us. But for this show, for the first 15 minutes, we're talking, as we had talked last week, to one of the candidates for office here, because it was suggested to us this is a really valuable way for you to be seeing them, especially, this is mostly seniors who are watching this show who, like Frank and Mary, get real confused with all the computer stuff, but know how to turn on the TV. And so you may be watching this. So Chris, tell us who we have again.
Yeah, good morning, Arthur. So today we have Jason Perreault. Jason is currently serving on the Board of Selectmen, I believe as chair, and he's running again. And so we're excited to have Jason here to answer some questions. And I think we'll go right into the first question, Jason. Please tell our viewers why you're running for the Board of Selectmen seat, and give us a bit about your background, if you will. Thank you.
Sure. I guess to start out, just a quick background. I'm originally from Vermont. After college, relocated to Massachusetts. I came south for the warmer weather. So family moved to Northborough in 1996. At that time, we had 3 young sons. The oldest was just about to start the elementary school. And we were looking for a town based on the character of the town, the reputation of the school system, and the location for me in terms of commuting for job opportunities. Those were important considerations, and Northborough fit the bill at that time. So we've been here for, I guess that makes it about just about 25 years, nearly so. Our kids went through the public school system here, are now post-college and out of the house and employed, fortunately. And they will tell you that they felt that the Northborough school system made them very well prepared for the challenges, the academic challenges of college. So we're very, very happy with that result. Somewhere in there, back in 1999, I first got involved with a ad hoc committee that the K-8 schools had formed to study the school buildings. From that experience, I kind of became familiar a bit with the impact on taxes for some of the operational and capital investment the town was making, and the concern that seniors had for the rising taxes that were putting pressure on their fixed incomes. So in 2001, the town had adopted a provision to be able to create a taxation assistance fund for elderly and disabled. And when that was created, I volunteered for that and served for 3 years as chair for that before moving on to the Financial Planning Committee. Served on financial planning for 10 years, 7 as its chair, and was a contributor to the issue of the dispute of the Algonquin Regional High School state grant apportionment. Following that, stepped up to the Board of Selectmen in 2014, have served 2 terms there, including interesting issues such as the recreational marijuana prohibitions. So it's been an eventful ride, and that's where I am today, and I basically like the opportunity to continue serving the town.
Terrific, thank you. So number 2 question, Jason, what are 2 or 3 items on your list of important topics you think the town needs to address in the next 3 years, and how would you address those topics?
3 topics to be addressed. One issue, I think, would just be the financial aspect. In the COVID-19 situation, we're facing pressure on the budget, not only this year, but probably looking forward 3 to 5 years. So it's going to require some long-term planning. In that respect, I would say that we are in relatively good shape compared to a lot of communities, because the financial policies we had put in place following the Great Recession about a decade ago have helped to make our budget less vulnerable to some of the downturns we're going to experience in terms of state aid or local receipts such as motor vehicle excise, hotel and meals tax, things of that nature. We've tried to construct a budget that doesn't rely on non-recurring revenues to support recurring expenditures that the budget requires. So we have some flexibility, we have some time to maneuver to think about what we need to do and to plan for these next few years. A second issue, again, depending on how long this circumstance persists, would be the services that we need to provide citizens that go beyond what they have been normally accustomed to. In terms of senior citizens particularly, I think that basically speaks to isolation and lack of family contact. And so those would be things where if there are needs, then we probably need to think about how those could be addressed, whether there would be socially distanced outings, for example, that might help to break through that a little bit, or possibly additional transportation support if there are things like medical appointments or other kinds of needs or something, and you have seniors who are not very mobile, then perhaps something more needs to be done in that respect. A third item, and again, it's a COVID-19 impact, is education. As you know, you have many students impacted this past year with remote learning. It's put a lot of pressure on the students, a lot of pressure on the teachers, and a lot of pressure on the parents to try to cope with all of that while they're, particularly the parents in some respects, as they're trying to continue through their day jobs while also trying to provide for the needs of their kids as they're trying to make their way through that. So there, in a 6-month span here, we've turned our world around. We have very significant challenges to face, and it'll take a lot of thoughtful and constructive input to try to meet those challenges.
Great. I bet you're happy that your kids are grown and you're not doing homeschooling. That's got to be a challenge.
I tell you, I have heard stories. I have observed the circumstances of some of the people who are in that situation, and I don't know how I could cope with that. Yes, very challenging.
So, Jason, what specific skills and abilities will you bring to the town as selectman?
I think part of it is my experience, the fact that I have been involved in a range of town committees and roles over this last 20 years. The experience of the 2 terms on the Board of Selectmen certainly has been helpful, and it's always a learning experience. You're always never quite completely prepared for everything that you face, but you try to do your best and trying to work constructively and collaboratively with your board members, with other boards, with town administration, with the employees throughout the municipal and school system. I think that's something that I've already faced, and to some extent, I think I've met that challenge. I'm a software engineer by training and occupation, and I kind of approach things in a certain analytical way. So in terms of budget and everything like that, I'm very comfortable handling that kind of thing. I'm not a very photogenic person, not a very good public speaker. When put into those circumstances, I try to do my best. The best is what it's going to have to be. So that would be my statement.
You know what? I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think you are photogenic, and I think you are an excellent public speaker. So,
well, thank you, Chris. It's very generous of you.
So question 4 is kind of a true false, but you can expound on it. So true or false, Northborough's property taxes are in line with the services that the town provides residents, including high quality public education and high quality town services such as police and fire, the library and the senior center, the Department of Public Works, Youth and Family Services, and Parks and Recreation. So are the property taxes in line with those services?
I would say true. I think that, if you look across the Commonwealth, there are a range of communities at different points on the economic demographic scale. Some of them are very high end, high taxes, high level of services. Others aren't at that end. They're at the opposite end, and in some respects maybe struggle to provide the services to their constituents. Northborough is somewhere in between. I think we have, excellent services overall. The school system certainly is very attractive to people. I think we've done an excellent job in terms of planning. And again, going back over the last decade, trying to be conservative with our spending and to apply that spending in a very efficient way. I think a lot of the building projects that we've undertaken over the last few years have been very well managed and come in, generally speaking, on time and under budget. From an operational standpoint, when you're talking about services and municipal operations, much of what you're talking about is staffing. And in that respect, I'd have to say that Northborough operates with a very lean staff. We don't have a lot of extra overhead. We don't have, if anything, you would argue that we don't have enough staff for some of the services we're trying to provide. At the moment, we've had a facilities director position that's been in the plan for a number of years. We still haven't filled that. That's something that we would like to see happen in order to provide more expertise for managing our buildings. Overall, I think as you look across the spectrum of services that we provide, I'm sure everyone would point to any one of them and say, perhaps there's something we can do better. And maybe that's true. But collectively, I think the combination of services we provide, the fact that we're operating under the Proposition 2.5 limit in terms of taxation, that our building projects, when we do pursue those are pursued through a debt exclusion, and those have to go through a town meeting approval and a ballot approval. So with those approvals, the town is essentially saying they approve of those projects, they approve of that spending. So yes, I think we're at a good spot relative to some other communities.
Great. Arthur, I think you take the next question.
My question, you already answered. It was your point two, a little bit farther on the list. And I think it's terrific that you really thought about the fact that during this remaining COVID-19 period until there's a vaccine, that seniors are going to be uniquely challenged because everybody else is kind of going back to work and doing what they're doing and all of that stuff because they know it really isn't going to hit them. It's really going to hit their mother or their grandparent or whatever. So, but it's great that you really thought about providing some, acknowledging the uniqueness of that audience and realizing that the town probably really needs to be affirmatively for that group, trying to provide some additional services because they are uniquely affected. I think it's great. I really appreciated that answer.
I certainly think, I think psychologically, a lot of it is the social isolation aspect. You can't be with your family members. You can't see your friends. That might have been a very significant social outing on a regular basis up until now. Certainly if there are seniors who are in need and haven't been assisted, then we certainly want them to contact the senior center or the Family and Youth Services. Those are the primary point of contacts. Those are the people who are best able to respond to any needs. If anyone in the community knows of someone, a senior who isn't being assisted and needs to be assisted, again, please let the town know. I think the town has done a good job. Liz Trediak, our new senior center director, is doing a wonderful job and trying to meet all the needs that she's aware of. I think that we're capable of providing the assistance and services needed. We just need to hear about it if those people haven't already been reached.
We've interviewed her on the show, and she's really wonderful. She's wonderful. I think aptly filling the very large shoes of Kelly Burke, who had been terrific for so many years. So we have run out of time. We really appreciate this input. And Chris, of course, I really appreciate the fact that you created all these great questions so that folks can answer them. So thank you. We realize, we've all got these day jobs, right? And you've got a lot to do. So thanks for taking the time to participate with us. Chris, we'll be taking a short break and then talking to our wonderful second guest, Michelle Grasso, about stress reduction in these difficult times for seniors. So thank you very much, Mr. Perreault.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris. Arthur, Chris, thank you both. I really appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
Thank you. And folks, we'll be right back. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Northborough, the COVID-19 edition. And Chris Lindquist, my wonderful co-host, is back with me. And also a wonderful guest, Michelle Grasso, who has a wonderful company that we wanted her to talk to you about. because of the things that she does. One of the things that she's always has been focusing on is dealing with, among other things, stress and stress reduction. And she speaks to a lot of folks who are seniors. For Frank and Mary, this has been a uniquely terrible time these last several months, and continues to be, because as everything else opens up, seniors realize that they are uniquely still threatened by this whole thing if the pandemic rears its head again. So we thought Michelle might really be able to provide some insight for folks in how to deal with that. And so Michelle, can you start off by just talking a little bit about the company and what the company does, and then specifically talk about, you know, folks you've been dealing with who are dealing with these issues and how they might be able to help deal with them without stressing out and dying of a heart attack instead of dying of COVID.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Yes, so I own Synergy Wellness Center, which is out of Hudson, and we have a range of services for physical, emotional, and spiritual health, including yoga and meditation, mental health counseling, acupuncture, massage therapy, and a few other types of services for nutrition and life direction coaching. And we've been working with a lot of seniors over this past 3 months, even more so, with doing some mindfulness work and meditation. And we have transitioned classes to online, and our chair yoga class has been very, very popular because a lot of senior centers where people may have been going for that resource have not been able to open. And so we've been pleased to serve seniors that way, as well as through mental health counseling, because people have been very, anxious about and isolated and grieving things that they can't do, or people their loved ones are not able to see. So it's been a privilege to be a resource to the community around this. And, one of the things we've been hearing, or many of the things, are around the isolation and grief I mentioned. And we're just, urging people and trying to encourage people to ride the wave and know that this is a really normal feeling to have in a really uncertain, unprecedented time. None of us have been through this before, but the experiences and, mentality that seniors bring often helps them to be more prepared maybe for something like this than younger folks. And for them to know that the young people in their life and the family and friends in their life want to hear from them, and hoping that they are reaching out and not necessarily seeing themselves as a burden by needing help for groceries or any other kinds of things, when you want to sort of stay safe from the community, but to know that they're really important to us, and often probably have things to tell us that we really need to hear and that are of comfort.
Great point. A great point. So from your perspective, how have people been dealing with this? And when you're living in this kind of changing time, how do you deal with it? Right.
Well, I think there are some tangible things that we can, I think the overriding thing here is, right, we don't feel like we have a sense of control over what's happening. And so what we've been, suggesting to all of our clients, seniors and others, some really tangible things that people can do to impact their day on a real-time basis. Some of them include things like keeping to a schedule and really encouraging you to try to get up at the same time, try to go to sleep at the same time, get dressed, have your meals, and really kind of have a routine to your day, so that things to kind of mirror the way your life used to look before March, and to really keep to that routine as much as you could as you were before. Some of the activities too that people enjoy doing, we're encouraging folks to really make a list of those things and try to do one of those every day, whether it's gardening or taking a walk or reading a book or listening to music, whatever it is that brings you joy, is to really that sense of creating joy for yourself, whether it be at home or a little bit outside your home, especially with the weather being nice, to take time for some joy for yourself. Really important.
And it certainly is a lot easier doing this now than it was in April, where it was
Yes.
COVID-19 and it was April in Massachusetts, which is
Right.
never pretty, right?
Right.
Everybody's
Exactly.
depressed then anyway, right?
Right. Waiting for spring and warm
Yes.
weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has been a really beautiful several weeks. I hope that people are taking that time for some fresh air, even to just feel the sun on your face. There's that, sense of just being still and feeling the sun and being in that mindful spot of just experiencing nature, that the world is still kind of going on, going forward.
The world is still going.
Yeah.
Right. And that notion of
Yeah.
I suppose that notion too, for seniors especially, of talking to your kids
Mhm.
and not feeling like you're a burden,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I think that sometimes we don't realize. I think maybe I know I have an elderly mom, and I have been seeing her during this time because she's been needing help getting to medical appointments. But I think that the impact that you have as a senior in terms of the experiences that you've had on your loved ones, again, it's just what we might need to hear. And if anyone can get through this, it's you, because you've got a mentality of having faced adversity of different types. None of us have faced this particular type, but you've faced, in all likelihood, a lot more than the folks that are around you. And also there are a good number of grandparents who are raising grandkids or helping care for grandkids. And we invite people to give themselves grace over that, because that is a big role that people have had to take on with being either an educator or a caregiver while their grandchild's, their kids are off as essential workers. So there's just a lot of added stresses and worries right now.
Yeah. Can I ask a question, Arthur?
Of
Michelle, I
course.
was just
Encourage people
interested
give
to
themselves
know
grace.
what your background is and what is your training, Michelle? What kind of experience do you bring
Yes.
to
Thank you.
your position?
So I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a Reiki practitioner, which is a form of energy healing. My professional background is working in child welfare with youth and families for 20 plus years. But I've also been a lifelong student of yoga and of energy healing and body work and meditation. And so I always dreamt of in my 20s, when I kind of all these things started coming together, of having a place and a space where people could come for all of these modalities. I've experienced acupuncture in my 30s with dealing with some health issues. So this vision of having this place and space that really creates a community for people to come became a reality. And it's just been such a gift. And we have just a wonderful, wonderful team of people and staff and practitioners, and a community that I'm so grateful, has stuck by us through this time. So we're grateful.
And do you also work with senior centers, Michelle, in the area?
We do. We're working with some senior residences as well. We've done some, some of this was actually kicking off too, just as this whole thing went down. But so we've been a resource to some local residences, and working on connecting with some different housing authorities, our teachers. We've hosted classes affiliated with senior centers, and two of our teachers teach at about 10 or 12 senior centers between the two of them. So there's that. We have a range of services for seniors that can go out into the community, into their home, to provide companionship and company, as well as, in-home yoga and acupuncture and for pain management. And so.
And by the way, when things start opening up, they're right in Hudson, and lively Hudson, practically next door. And by the way, certainly, Michelle, we'll ask our producer, this wonderful guy named Dana Vogue, if you can send him your kind of contact information, so people can really outreach to you and kind of talk to you about it.
Yes, thank you.
One of the reasons why I really appreciated your coming is I know that we had talked about the role that meditation may play in all of this, and as we've talked about before, I'm one of those old guys, that you'd hear meditation, you'd be like, is that those saffron guys with the bald heads at the airport? I remember this from like the 70s, right?
Yeah.
But it's really kind of become so much more than that. And I really I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that, because I'm personally, I'm a kind of an adherent, I really think this is terrific. It's terrific what you're doing and the role this can play in seniors' lives.
Sure. So one of the most powerful things that we can all access that is so easy is our breath. And many times when we're feeling, when our emotions in our head is taking us to these spaces of anxiety or sadness, or, you know, all the range of emotions that we're coming up with, there's a lot going on in the world right now. If we come back to our breath, it can really slow down our nervous system and just put us on a better track physically and mentally. So I would be happy to share with you this 4-count breath, which is a very simple technique that you can do with us here today to try it out. And then also, you know, just access it anytime where you're feeling, you know, I need to take a breath, which does come up. So would it be all right if we give that a try?
Sounds great.
You guys willing to join us? Okay.
Let's try.
All right. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is to find, you know, a comfortable spot in your seat. And what we're going to do is close our eyes. And I'm going to take you through a 4-count breath where we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to hold it for 4. And then we're going to exhale for 4. And if for some reason you're unable to hold for 4 breaths, that's okay. You know, hold for what you feel comfortable with. Okay. All right. So we're going to do this 3 times. And I'd like you to just sort of take note of how you're feeling right now and then see how you feel after. Okay. All right. So here we are. Everyone close your eyes. All right. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, and 4. So I invite you to open your eyes, and how do you feel just taking that little opportunity to breathe?
It's wonderful.
A little better?
Yeah, it's just wonderful. I remember, and I find myself doing this because I got introduced to Michelle because she was a guest on my show in Westborough, because she lives in Westborough, and she did the show, and then she did the breath, and I was like, well, we need her every place, right? And I want to know, Michelle, I mean, it's a tribute to, it's not everybody for whom I'll shut my eyes while I'm hosting a TV show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Michelle, you know, we really appreciate your coming on. This is just it's a wonderful, I think it's a gift to a lot of people. I think it's a way for people to stop thinking about all this. You know, there's a lot going on, but there's a lot that's still wonderful. And the breath is a wonderful way to start, you know?
Yes,
and so,
it is.
you know, and we hope that people will reach out to you and to you know, your colleagues if this all happens. I also want to mention that this is, for folks who've been watching this through COVID-19 and from before, this is Chris Lindquist's last show, because Chris is leaving the Northborough Public Library job because he found another one. He's been commuting from central Connecticut for years. He now has a job in Farmington, Connecticut, 15 minutes from his house, the library there. So he's a happy guy. Not that he hasn't loved Northborough, but Chris, I just want to thank you, you know, and I know that you've always said you've enjoyed your Northborough time.
I have. It's gone by too quickly, Arthur. 5 years. It's gone by in the blink of an eye, but I have enjoyed my time here, and I'm not going to be a stranger. I promise I'm going to come back. Hopefully you'll have me on your show sometime in the future. I know Liz Trediak is going to be your new co-host. So congratulations to Liz, and I'm going to be watching. And I really appreciate, you know, you're giving me the opportunity to be co-host. I'm going to keep my day job. I'm still going to be a library director, but I've enjoyed it immensely.
But we've had some good times, and we get to meet people like Michelle Grasso, which has been pretty wonderful, right? This has all been good.
Congratulations.
So folks, we will be starting, my wonderful new co-host, Liz Trediak, your new Senior Center and Council on Aging Director, in 2 weeks from now. And we'll be making these shows every 2 weeks now that things are kind of opening up a little bit, and so that the world isn't changing at such a rapid pace. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Always.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. And folks, we'll look forward to seeing you and Liz Trediak on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Northborough, the COVID-19 edition. Thank you very much.